is back here at the UC Health Training Center as day one of training camp is complete. What's up, Broncos country? Thanks for tuning in to the very first episode of Broncos Now. I'm your host, Sydney Jones, and Broncos Now is a new podcast and video series that will aim to give fans a daily recap of what's going on with the team. From the top sound bites and plays of the day to analysis and injury updates, I'll have all of your Broncos news right here every afternoon, Monday through Friday. And I can't think of a better day to kick things off than the first day of training camp. So coming up on today's episode, I'll dive into head coach Nathaniel Hackett's and Russell Wilson's reactions from day one. I will be joined later by Broncos lead writer Eric Dalala. We'll analyze the highlights of the day and discuss who stood out to us on the field. Plus, we'll take you around the locker room as we talk to several players after practice today. There was so much excitement and energy here at practice today from all the fans in attendance to the players, from the coaches, from the media. I mean, we've said it all off season. There's a different energy here in Denver with the arrival of Russell Wilson and head coach Nathaniel Hackett. And today was the first day we really got to see those two in action. Even Russell said practice today had the same feel and the same energy as a game day.
It felt like a game, to be honest with you. We were getting after it, ones versus ones, just to go back and forth, the speed of it all. And so that's how we practice all, OTAs for the most part. It was just high level. This is why it's great to be here, just because of the high level of practice guys are putting into it. Like I said, anytime you want to be successful, you got to put the work in. There's no magic pill. There's no hidden tricks. There's no nothing. It's just, are you going to do the work? Are you going to do everything it takes? Are you going to sacrifice every day? And that's what we're doing. That's what we've done. And what we did today doesn't mean anything tomorrow. And what we did today doesn't mean anything tomorrow. So I'm excited about it. It was so cool to see the fans out here today, too. This is my first time, obviously my first practice. I feel like it was my rookie year all again, but I don't know. I got about 3,475 days of experience on top of it. So it feels all brand new, but yet also something that I feel like I've always dreamed of, just to continue to just do what I love to do. So every day, I get to focus on joy and just loving the game that I get to play. So
some great competition out there today between the offense and the defense. A lot of red zone work, and that's exactly how Coach Hackett likes it.
I love the competitiveness. I mean, it's funny. It's like as clean of a touchdown as it might be, there's people still saying it's not a touchdown, and if we think it is a touchdown, people doing everything they can to say it's not. So, I mean, that's what you want, and that's what you love. So I think it's great, especially on day one. It's a marathon like we've been talking about, and you don't want to get big, long fields right out the gate. So I think it's so important to shorten the field. We have a shorter practice, so you just want to get as many reps as you can within the time frame, but work the most important area of the field.
Bradley Chubb also got up on the podium today and spoke with the media and said practice was fun for the defense, knowing that Russell isn't going to give up on any play.
It's crazy, man, because you see him. I played against my rookie year, and pretty much the same dude, man, running around trying to avoid guys. And Malik thought said he had him right here, and he was, I seen it plenty of times before 5'9". So just like that competition and knowing that you never, when we're on the sideline, knowing that, he's never going to give up on the play. And we see that when we're chasing him right now. So it's been fun. It's going to make us better, and hopefully we make him better as well.
Those were the top storylines from press conferences today. Now let's take a look at practice. Here in the radio studio with me is the Broncos lead writer, Eric Dalala. Eric, thanks so much for joining me. Crazy that training camp is already here. Day one is already complete. A fun day, nonetheless, though. I felt like the defense might have had the upper hand during practice a little bit today. I do think the offense still looked pretty good, but the defense had some good plays. What are your overall reactions, observations from the day, Eric?
Yes, Eddie. First, honored to be on the first episode of Broncos Now. Thanks for having me.
Of course.
I think it's always a little bit easier for the defense to get off to a hot start because you're kind of reacting to what the offense is doing. You're taking the cues from route concepts or formations and figuring out what to do from there. And so for this defense particularly, which has been in this system now for several years, I mean, you look at that secondary, Kareem Jackson and Justin Simmons have been playing together for years, and it's pretty much the same system that Vic Fangio ran while he was here. So it makes sense that they'd have a little bit of an edge. I actually thought that I was relatively pleased with what the offense did because I thought they took a step from the end of the offseason program until now. And granted, they didn't get on the field together. They didn't practice at all. But I think just having some more time to let some of that stuff sink in, get more comfortable with the offense, I think you could see that pay some dividends on day one.
Right. Well, either on the offense or the defense, was there a specific player that really jumped out to you today? Who's someone who's standing out already in camp?
Yeah. I mean, the red zone work in general is kind of where the focus was on Wednesday. Nathaniel Hackett said after practice, we don't want to get these guys in the open field. We don't want to do too much on day one. We want to give these guys a chance to kind of get their legs. And so doing red zone work will do that. They got a lot of reps. And so in those reps, I think you get a really good idea of who's executing, because when things are that tight down there, it's hard to hide mistakes. And so the guys that played well, I thought, were the ones who had the best execution. A rookie, Montreal Washington, he stood out to me. He had a touchdown grab from Brett Rippon, which I thought was impressive. Russell Wilson talked about him showing up early in the day, getting an extra walkthrough in. And so I think that shows you kind of the dedication he has, paid off on day one. And then a couple of defenders. Nick Bonito, he's a guy that might have to take on a little bit of an added role with Randy Gregory on PUP. He had a nice run stop. Hard to tell too much right now, Sydney, about how good of pass rushes they're able to do because they don't have pads on. But I think Nick Bonito is a guy that could surprise some people with how much he contributes early. And then DJ Jones in the middle of the line. Obviously, run defense was an issue last year. This team could not stop the run, particularly in 4-minute situations. On Wednesday, the Broncos tried to run a play at some point in the red zone, and DJ Jones was just in the backfield immediately. He took up 2 offensive linemen. He's a big dude.
Oh, yeah.
And so I think you saw right away the benefit that he'll bring to this line.
Yeah, I talked to DJ Jones a little bit after practice, and he said he's itching to get those pads on. Saturday can't come soon enough for him. And he said he wasn't anxious or nervous at all today. This being, his first training camp, first real practice with the Broncos. He said he slept like a baby last night.
When you're that big, I'd imagine you're not too nervous that anyone's going to go out there and knock
Right.
you backwards or anything.
Well, Eric, you talk a lot about the red zone work today. Russell Wilson, he had his first touchdown pass of the day during red zone work in the third team period. That was to Eric Sauber in the end zone. Do you think that's the play of the day? What did you see on that play?
Yeah, I think so. There weren't like the big passes that you would expect or that you see necessarily in like a normal training camp practice because everything was so consolidated in the red zone. But that Russell Wilson play was impressive because Malik Reed kind of got off the edge and was in his face in a second, and then Russell Wilson kind of did that patented like step back that he does where he shimmies a little bit and you think you have him and then you don't. Bradley Chubb even said after practice, like Malik told Russ, I got you, and Russ said, I've seen that 1,000 times and I get out of that all the time. So Russ was able to escape that, keep his eyes down the field. I mean, how many times have we seen a quarterback for the Broncos, escape the pocket, but then they just take off because they don't have that presence of mind to keep their eyes downfield. Right. Russ had that, able to find Eric Saubert in the end zone. It was just one of those plays that make you kind of go, okay, that's what you're getting with Russell Wilson. That's why this team spent as much as they did to get him.
That's why everyone is so optimistic heading into the camp in the season. Eric, overall, what did you think about Russell's performance today? As him in this offense, they really start to master the scheme.
Yeah, I think it's going to take some time, right? Like, it's not overnight. It's not going to be perfect. As I mentioned, I think you did see strides from where they were at the end of the mini camp. I think some of that work in San Diego helped with that, obviously. They've taken the time. They've put in extra work. We're hearing about these extra meetings, these extra walkthroughs. So I think Russ is about where you'd expect him to be. I think something to keep in mind as well is that, and Nathaniel Hackett talked about this, when you go into a game, you're only given a select group of plays to know, or you've got this script you've got to know, and then you've got this game plan. I think it's easier to hone in on that. They're trying to master all of it right now, and so anything could be called at any time, and so there's a lot on their plates. But I think Russell Wilson still has the athleticism you expect. He has the arm strength for sure. We didn't see that Wednesday necessarily, but you saw it all off season. And I just think that the biggest thing is he brings this belief that, hey, even if it's 2nd and 10, even if it's 3rd and 10, we've got a chance to keep this drive going. That's something the Broncos haven't had in years.
For sure. Looking at his offensive line, right tackle specifically, Billy Turner, he was placed on the PUP list ahead of training camp on Tuesday. Tom Compton, he was not out at practice today. Coach Hackett told the media that he had a back procedure, and he is also going to be placed on the PUP list. So, what do you think the plan's going to be at right tackle? Who are you going to be looking at over the next couple weeks throughout camp?
Yeah, that's the biggest question now because you've got Russell and you've got to protect him. And obviously there's some uncertainty on the rest of the line, but right tackle is by far the biggest issue there. Calvin Anderson's going to get a long look at right tackle, I think. He's a guy that we've traditionally seen play left tackle when he stepped in for Garrett Bowles, so got to flip to the other side, but he's an option there. Broncos brought in Cam Fleming. They signed him on Wednesday to a contract, and he's somebody that started 4 games for the Broncos in 2021, so he's an option. And then you just wonder, when is Billy Turner going to come back? Because Nathaniel Hackett said, we're not going to rush him. He'll know. Yeah. But at some point, you've got to get ready for week 1, and so you've got to wonder, at what point is he not a week 1 option? When does he become an option later in the season? It's a little soon, Sydney, to jump to those sort of conclusions, but until someone's named a starter or we get an answer one way or another, that's the biggest question mark on the offense.
Definitely. Well, hopefully some of those guys will get better sooner rather than later. Eric, appreciate your insight and analysis on today's practice. Looking forward to another good one tomorrow.
Absolutely. Thanks, Sydney.
We also talked to several players after practice today as they were walking off the field. So let's take a listen to some of their reactions from day one and their thoughts on Coach Hackett's first training camp practice as a head coach.
You see him out here? That man out here living, man. He having a blast, man. So, when he bring that type of energy, that it's contagious. You know what I'm saying? And obviously, he gets serious when he need to get serious, and he tap in. I'm sure he gonna have his days, but for the most part, it looked like he was out here having fun, flying around. And he bring that to us, and that's kind of the energy we bring.
Just work hard. Coach Hackett always saying, just work hard, do the small things right, and wherever we go, that's where we're going to go.
It's been really good. Going to work with a really good, group of guys. Being back around the guys, just learning again from the coaches, getting accustomed to the playbook. So, everything really is just, new for me, and I'm just trying to get accustomed to everything.
That's a lot of excitement, so that's what you're going to see, and hopefully that energy stays where it is today. Training camp is a grind, but hopefully it stays that way.
Now it's time to take a look at today's injury update. Like Eric and I mentioned earlier in the show, Billy Turner was placed on the PUP list Tuesday ahead of training camp, along with Randy Gregory and KJ Hamler. Coach Hackett announced today that Tom Compton will also be going on the PUP list. He had a back procedure, and he was not out at practice today. Rookie tight end Greg Dulcich stretched with the team today, but then headed to work on a side field. He had a hamstring injury this offseason, and head coach Nathaniel Hackett said that they're going to take things slow with him and make sure they do it all the right way. Plus, undrafted rookie Christopher Allen is on the non-football injury list. Well, looks like that's all the time we have for today's episode. Thank you all so much for joining me on the very first edition of Broncos Now. Don't forget, there will be new episodes every afternoon, Monday through Friday. So make sure to be on the lookout for those on iTunes, Spotify, denverbroncos.com, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcast. I will see you all tomorrow for some more insight and analysis from day 2 of training camp.